The bell above the cafe door jingled, letting in a rush of cold morning air as Daniel stepped inside. He rubbed his palms together, shaking off the chill, and guided his 7-year-old daughter Lily toward their favorite corner table, the one by the window, where the sun always spilled in just right. This tiny cafe had become their weekend refuge. Here, for half an hour, Daniel could pretend life wasn't an endless cycle of bills, double shifts, and exhaustion. He set his worn leather wallet on the counter, ordering his usual black coffee and Lily's hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. His eyes were heavy from the late-night construction job, but he managed a tired smile as Lily twirled in her little yellow coat, humming off-key to the music overhead. She was his whole world, the reason he kept going when everything else had fallen apart. The barista slid the cups across the counter, and Daniel turned, scanning the cafe for an empty seat. That's when he saw her. At first, he thought his mind was playing tricks on him. The woman by the window looked impossibly familiar, dark hair tied neatly in a low bun, a soft cream blazer hugging her shoulders, the light from the window catching on her gold earrings. She was reading something on a sleek tablet, her expression focused yet gentle. And then she looked up. His breath caught. It was her, Emma. The name hit him like a punch and a prayer at once. 10 years vanished in a heartbeat, and he was back in that summer field, watching her laugh with the wind in her hair, making promises they were too young to keep. Back then, she had dreams of studying business abroad, and he had plans to start his own building company. They'd sworn they'd wait for each other. But life had pulled them apart, the kind of slow, painful drift that left words unspoken and hearts unfinished. Daniel froze, unsure whether to approach or retreat. She looked different, polished, confident, like someone who belonged to a world he could no longer reach. He lowered his gaze, hoping she wouldn't notice him in his faded flannel shirt and scuffed boots. But fate had other plans. Emma looked up again, and this time, her eyes met his. Recognition flared, sharp and sudden. Her lips parted slightly, a whisper of his name forming as the past came rushing back between them. Emma's coffee cup hovered halfway to her lips, but she couldn't take a sip. The man in the doorway, the one clutching a little girl's hand, was unmistakably Daniel. Her heart thudded against her ribs, a rhythm she hadn't felt in years. He had always had that way of appearing unexpectedly, of making her feel both safe and restless at the same time. She remembered the summer evenings, the promises whispered under old oak trees, the way his eyes lit up whenever he talked about the future. And yet, here he was, older, wearier, but unmistakably him. Her mind raced. She had built an empire since those days, yes, but wealth and power didn't shield her from moments like this. Seeing Daniel brought back a tidal wave of memories she had carefully tucked away. The warmth of his hand in hers, the sound of his laugh, the way he had made her feel like anything was possible. She rose slowly, smoothing the blazer that framed her figure, trying to make her calm seem effortless. Every step toward him felt surreal, like she was walking through a dream she didn't want to end. Daniel, her voice trembled, betraying the poise she had spent years cultivating. He turned sharply, and for a second, he didn't recognize her either. Then the old familiarity hit him like a punch to the chest. Emma, he breathed, a mix of disbelief and something softer, more vulnerable. His gaze drifted from her face to the elegance of her outfit, the confident way she carried herself. She had always been ambitious, but now ambition had been sculpted into power. Lily tugged at his hand, looking up with curious eyes. "Daddy, who's that?" Emma knelt instinctively, meeting the child's gaze. She smiled, warm and genuine, a softness in her eyes that only few ever saw. "I'm an old friend of your dad's," she said, careful not to frighten her. Lily blinked once, then gave a shy wave. Daniel watched the exchange, a strange combination of pride and unease swirling in his chest. The barista called out, "Double espresso for Ms. Gray." The name echoed across the cafe, and suddenly the reality struck him. This wasn't just Emma anymore. She had become a powerful force in the business world, a CEO whose decisions shaped countless lives. Yet here she was, standing in front of him, the same girl he had loved years ago. "Do you want to sit?" Daniel asked, voice cautious but hopeful. Emma nodded, and they moved to a nearby table, each step heavy with memories, regrets, and the unspoken question, could the past really find a way back into the present? They settled at a corner table bathed in soft morning light, the kind that made the cafe feel like a bubble separate from the rest of the world. Daniel stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, watching Lily sip her hot chocolate, marshmallows melting into frothy peaks. The child's laughter was like a gentle bridge between the past and the present, a reminder that life had moved forward, even if their hearts had not. Emma studied him quietly, noting the lines around his eyes that weren't there before, the faint weariness in his posture, the calloused hands that had once held her so carefully. She wanted to reach across the table and trace them with her fingers, to reassure herself that he was real. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer than the confident tones she used in boardrooms and presentations. "You've changed," she said, not in a judgmental way, but with curiosity, as if she were seeing him for the first time in years. Daniel shrugged, a wry smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Life changes everyone, I guess. Some for the better, some, just surviving." He paused, glancing at Lily, who was busy drawing hearts in the condensation on her cup. "It's been hard, Em. Since the divorce, the jobs, making sure Lily doesn't feel everything falling apart. Some days I feel like I'm barely keeping it together." Emma reached out, her hand brushing his on the table, a gesture so gentle it almost went unnoticed, but Daniel felt it, a spark igniting in the quiet. "You always put everyone else first," she said softly. "Even now, even when you're struggling." Her gaze searched his, a mix of admiration and lingering love. He chuckled, though it sounded bitter at first. "Someone has to." A beat of silence passed, filled with unspoken memories, long walks, whispered dreams, shared laughter, and the heartbreak that had pulled them apart. Emma's eyes softened, and for a moment, the boardroom, the wealth, the CEO title, all of it, seemed irrelevant. She was just Emma again, the girl who had loved him fiercely. "I thought about you," she admitted finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "More than I probably should have." The weight of the words hung between them like a fragile bridge, trembling with possibility. Daniel opened his mouth, but before he could reply, Lily squealed, pointing to the playground outside. "Daddy, can she come with us?" Emma laughed, the sound light and musical, breaking the tension. She nodded, and in that laughter, Daniel caught a glimpse of the warmth they had lost, and the chance that maybe, just maybe, it could be found again. The sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting long, golden streaks across the playground. Daniel pushed Lily on the swings, laughter spilling from her like music. Emma lingered nearby, her heels abandoned on the grass, sleeves rolled up, hands gripping the chains of another swing. For a moment, she felt absurd, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, reduced to the simple joy of pushing a little girl on a swing, but she didn't care. Here, in this small patch of earth, the noise of her high-powered life melted away, leaving only the raw, honest pulse of the present. Daniel glanced over, noticing the way Emma's face softened as she laughed at Lily's antics. It was a side of her he remembered, the side that didn't calculate profits or craft strategies, the side that simply was. He felt a pang of longing, a mix of regret and hope, that maybe this was the second chance they hadn't realized they were waiting for. Lily ran off to the slide, her laughter echoing through the park. Daniel and Emma found themselves alone for the first time since that morning, the space between them charged with unspoken words. "You've changed," Daniel said quietly, though this time it wasn't judgment, it was awe. "You're someone else now." Emma smiled, a flicker of the old mischievous glint in her eyes. "And you're still Daniel," she replied. "Still trying to keep everything together on your own." She hesitated, then took a step closer, her voice dropping to a soft confession. "I never stopped believing in you, Daniel. Maybe it's not too late for us, for something real." He looked at her, torn between pride, fear, and the embers of a hope he hadn't dared to feel in years. "You've built an empire, Emma. I'm just trying to survive." Her gaze softened, and she reached for his hand. "Then let me help you," she said. "Not just with work, not just with life, with us. Together." There was no arrogance in her voice, only honesty, the kind that broke down walls stronger than any financial success ever could. Daniel's chest tightened. He had spent years feeling like a man who had lost everything that mattered, but now, seeing Emma, hearing her, he realized he hadn't lost her at all. Maybe this was a chance to rebuild. Not just a career, not just stability, but a life with love, laughter, and the family they had once dreamed of. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I want that, he admitted, the weight of the words finally settling between them. Emma smiled, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt a sense of possibility bloom in his chest. Lily's laughter carried on the wind, and the world outside the playground could wait. They had found each other again, and for now, that was enough.